effort to make this as quick as possible, but yet as thorough as possible too, to make sure that we do this, right. I want to make sure that everybody's got 2 or 3 important things with them today. You got your teacher administrator manual, and you got the verbal instructions for online testing, and you got something to write with. Anybody need to go get one of those 3 things? Everybody's got it.
I need those things, so don't have to.
Okay, none of those 3 things?
I got it.
Some people, if
You
they
got something to write with, that's one of the 3. All right.
Alright, we're
Okay,
good.
so as long as you got what you know you're supposed to have, then we're good to go. All right. So I'm starting this right here. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ledbetter. All right. She is going to kind of give you guys a few more of the expectations. My main expectation for us guys is to make sure that we do this right. That's all I ask. Okay. We got to make sure that we do it right. Obviously, we know it's a big deal. State testing is a huge deal every year. I want to say this too, though. I have never been one to hang my hat on standardized test scores. Okay, I'm not saying that's the end all be all. The process, on the other hand, though, has got to be done right. Okay, the process is what's super important to me, and making sure that we follow protocol. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ledbetter. I want to thank she for taking over as the testing administrator for the building. I've got to go up to New Jersey to see my eye doctor week after next for 3 days, and so I can't be the testing administrator. Dr. Ledbetter's taking over starting with day 1 on Monday. So anything that goes wrong is on her. And I absolve all responsibility. No, not really. All right. Anything that goes wrong still falls back on me. And so I fully trust that she and Ms. Lunsford, and as the building test coordinator, has got everything taken care of, and Ms. Barron as the backup building test coordinator. Should Ms. Lunsford go down in between? She is not. She is superhuman.
Okay, just a few things. I really appreciate everybody and your flexibility. We know there's been a lot of emails that have gone out, a lot of changes. In doing this for 22 years and administering standardized tests for 22 years, I can tell you that there's a lot of information in this training. Okay? Typically, if you've been in this building for a while, you do get a daily sheet that tells you what to do that is typically a 1-pager. Okay? It is not a 1-pager. It is multiple pagers. Alright? I do want to say that this team here, I cannot tell you how many rocks they've turned over to make your life easier, as long as you read it. Okay? It is non-negotiable to have any major irregularities in this building. Because of the training you're going to receive today, because of the layers that we have put in place to protect you. Okay? And I say that because if there's anything that's major, your certificate is attached to this, and I can't put it any nicer than that. My certificate is attached to it. That's why this is such a big deal. Okay? And people will say, well, what are they going to do to me? They're going to do a lot, because I've seen it happen before. I just would appreciate, as you always do, just flexibility, kindness, grace. We're all going to be wide-eyed, especially on Monday, because with the Chromebook issues, as you are very aware of, we've got all that going on as we're taking care of you and as we're taking care of children. So your grace is greatly appreciated, and also your flexibility. Okay? If there's ever any pushback or any issues, or if you're mad about something, please come see me first. All right? I want to protect them in the fact that, you know, they've worked tirelessly, whole spring break, weekends, things like that. So if we've messed up on something, you know, come see me first, and then I will ask her. All questions do go to Ms. Lunsford ultimately, even if they come through me. All right? No other questions aren't to be asked if you don't know something, you know, for sure of anybody else, because she is the keeper of the answer of the questions. She is the backup, and I'm the administrator. We are the ones making the decisions. Okay? Any questions for me? Comments or concerns? All right. We really appreciate y'all.
All right, I'm gonna give you a dessert first, and then we're gonna get to the vegetables. If you were in the building last year, we tested each grade for 1 week. We are testing 6th and 8th grade for 4 days, 7th grade for 3 days. And we will be finished testing, except for extended time, we will be finished every day by 10:45. Oh, and we are not holding endlessly. We will be holding, but we won't be holding to where we're twiddling our thumbs. Okay, that's your dessert. Alright, so the agenda today is your roles, basic ACAP information, ACAP test administrator manual, your TAM training, test administration and security, test administration procedures, your verbal instructions, daily procedures and guidelines that are specific to us, reminders and questions, and then at the end, you will do your attendance and regular training. The roles, Sarah McClendon is our system test coordinator over at the district. I'm your building test coordinator. Barron is the backup. Dr. Ledbetter is, the building test administrator. And every certified teacher in here, even if you do not have a manual, because you are sitting in this room, you are a test administrator. And then we have proctors and hall proctors. The ACAP Summative is a secure test. Student assessment requires that all persons involved in the aspect of ACAP Summative testing strictly adhere to all security procedures described in the ACAP Summative test coordinator manual. All secure materials must be accounted for at all times, and they may not travel with the student or be left unsupervised. Secure materials that we have in this building are test tickets. The rosters, you do not get, I created rosters for you. So we have to secure all of our test tickets. Chromebooks, when they are in testing mode, are considered secure material. The TAs, which you are the test administrators, you must return all secure materials at the end of their testing day, every day. So you will return your rosters, your entire folder, your tickets, and your Chrome cards. Secure materials must never be left in open areas or unsupervised, and supervision for secure material requires a certified person. Collection of materials from the TAs, as soon as you complete your testing for today, of the day, you have to return your materials. Under no circumstances can any secure test materials be left in your room. And just like last year, we have that return and receipt of secure test materials forms that will be signed in the morning when you pick up your materials, and it will be signed in the afternoon when you return your materials. All right. The audience for this training is you all, the test administrators. I must go page by page. Just like last year, I have to read everything on the page. You should have read your TAM in its entirety. And TAMs are not secure material because you can go to the website and print them off. This is our digital device policy. Students will not be allowed to bring digital devices into the testing area. Students will be instructed to turn off all digital devices to include, but not limited to, cell phones, smartwatches, Fitbits, or any other device capable of receiving or sending information. Students will be instructed to place their digital devices into a collection bin. And we have large 2-gallon Ziploc bags that will be in your box daily. And those will be turned into myself or Ms. Barron when you come to pick up your supplies. All digital devices will be stored securely in a locked location. If a student is observed in possession of a digital device during the administration of the test, the device may be confiscated and searched for any information related to the ACAP. Violation of this policy may result in disciplinary action. All testing staff will also surrender their personal devices, to include their smartwatches, Fitbits, etc., to the BTC or BBTC, or you can document the location on your pre-test checklist. But wherever you leave your digital devices, it must be outside of your testing area. Teachers with a printer with copying or scanning capabilities will need to remove the power cord. You have to label it with your name, and you will place it in the Ziploc bag with the student's devices. If a teacher or employee is observed in possession of a digital device during the administration of an ACAP test, the device may be confiscated and searched for any information related to the ACAP. Violation of this policy may result in disciplinary actions.
And you'll receive this every day in your Ziploc bag to remind you, just in case you forget.
And some people have asked about digital devices, so this is an extra thing. The students must power them off, they must turn them into you. The TA and or the student, you need to label the devices with painter's tape, sticky notes, or anything else that will not damage those devices. Parents have been informed that devices will be collected, and they were told that they don't want their students' device collected, not to allow them to bring them to school on those testing days. We have also let parents know that we are not responsible for any lost or damaged items, okay? All right, you will have a communication plan, and as the test administrator will be given a red piece of paper, assistance needed. You slip it under the door when assistance is needed. The hall monitors are allowed their cell phones so they can alert the principal, the BTC, or the BBTC if any issue arises. The hall monitors will have their cell phone set on silent so that it does not disturb you all in your testing sessions. Last year, we did not have this. We were required to have a safety plan for emergency situations. In an unexpected situation or emergencies, educators must first act to assure the safety of all students and staff, while test security is critical and must be maintained as much as possible during an emergency. Students and staff safety is always priority. All testing staff must be aware of the school's emergency plan, identified in the school's test security plan. If an emergency arises on test day, the fire alarm, a secure or severe weather, the principal or the principal designee, and in our case, Dr. Ledbetter, is responsible for whatever action is necessary. The main concern would be to get students and staff to safety. If possible, make note of the time and either collect all test materials or have examinees exit the test engine according to specific assessment. If test administrators cannot collect test materials, make sure you lock your room door. Students should proceed calmly following established local procedures for emergencies. So if somehow we have a fire drill or tornado, testing will be paused according to the testing administration manual. It is in your TAM how you pause a test. The TA will collect any secure testing materials and protect those as needed during the emergency. If we have a lockdown, the students and the TA will follow our lockdown procedures, and test materials will be secured as soon as possible.
And you get this every day as well.
All right, just general information, our testing window is April 18th through May 6th, and you all should know that Acap Summative is a fixed form. It's aligned to the Alabama Board of Study Standards. For 6th grade, for all grades, they have 4 ELA sessions. No, they don't.
Oh, please.
Who said okay?
Everybody touch it. Why do you know your touchscreen? I didn't know we had fancy stuff. You don't know touchscreen either? We never had no touchscreen. You rolled it over.
If you have reservations for dinner, you might want to change.
I can read from the slide. You keep going until we get it up.
All right, keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
Alright, so every grade has 4 ELA sessions, 2 math sessions. 6th and 8th grade have 2 science sessions. Okay, the next slide was your TA responsibilities. You attend the test administration training provided by me. You read your Acap Summative Test Administration Manual and your verbal instruction in its entirety, as well as any supplemental materials provided. You adhere to all TA responsibilities as listed in the Acap Integrity Handbook. And you all didn't get the handbook, but remember in January when we were virtual and you took that test? Yep. You initial, yep. Part of your responsibilities, you maintain test security before, during, and after testing sessions. You ensure that the DRC Insight online learning system software has been installed on all testing devices. And when we did the practice test and you had those pictured instructions about the DRC, I put those in your baggie too for every day, just in case we have You ensure that you know how to launch the DRC Insight on the devices that students will be using to test.
It's ready.
Make sure you know the procedures for students who must pause the test for an emergency break, restroom sickness. This is our timing sheet. It's the same timing sheet as last year. You have to use it. If the student is leaving the room, you have to put down the time the student left, the time the student returned. Try to encourage them, and the hall monitors got the training yesterday, try to encourage them to come back within 10 minutes. If they are out of the testing room and off of their test for 10 minutes, it locks them out. It shuts down and locks them out. But nobody should be in the restroom that long. They should not be that serious. Make sure you prepare your classroom for testing. You ensure that all devices, computers have a working pair of headphones for testing ELA session 1. And for students who will be using the text-to-speech accommodations, adhere to the school's policy for collecting digital devices and ensure that no one entering the test room is in possession of a cell phone or other digital device. Alright, this is where I have to read word for word. So you can follow along in your TAM. I'll put the page numbers up.
I do wanna say one thing about Spirit Your Room. I'll be around tomorrow to come look at classrooms to make sure we're good to go, to make sure you don't need anything, butcher paper or anything like that. So, by tomorrow, I said in the email, it needs to be ready for testing.
Alright, so assisting students. Students are to receive no help in the administration of the test beyond making certain that they understand test directions. School officials, personnel who offer or provide inappropriate assistance to students can face severe consequences, including suspension or revocation of their teaching certificates. If a student does not understand how to use the online tools, the TA should instruct the students to click on the question mark within the item, which will take the student to contextual help for that item type. TAs and proctors, and some of you all have proctors, so it's applicable, must monitor students to ensure they are working independently and adhering to procedures. Students must be supervised by trained and certified personnel while having access to the test. Principals and BTCs should check on the testing rooms periodically to verify proper monitoring by the TA and to assist in the event of an emergency. Students must not be allowed to leave the testing room with their test ticket or device in hand. Students are not allowed to discuss the test items with anyone. Any instance of cheating must be handled in a manner consistent with school disciplinary policies. All instances of cheating require submission of an irregularity report form by the BTC to Sarah, the system test coordinator, and an invalidation of the student's score. TAs are responsible for collecting all test materials at the end of the testing period and returning their materials as instructed to the BTC. Student assessment policy allows students to leave the room for up to 10 minutes. Devices must remain in the secure testing room on calls. Students who do not return within 10 minutes will not be allowed to re-enter the testing room to resume testing. That is important. Highlight it, circle it in your book, that is important. The student's test will automatically time out after 10 minutes. The TA does not need to exit the student's test. Students who leave the room during testing do not make up the lost time. So if they go out and they're gone for 5 minutes, they come back, they just lost that 5 minutes of testing. In the event a student must leave the room, instruct the student to click the pause button. After 10 minutes, the test will automatically exit out and the student will not be allowed to return and complete the unfinished test. If a student leaves the room and returns within 5 minutes, the TA will document on the Acap Summative timing form the name of the student and the time the student left and returned. The student will click the return to test button and resume testing. The TA will not complete an irregularity report. Any questions so far? Alright. If the student leaves the room,
If the student finishes the test and leaves the room to go to the restroom, we still have to document that, correct?
yes, you do. Anytime the student leaves the room, we have to document.
During the period of time the testing is occurring.
Once you, and I will tell you later, once you close your door and you start reading those instructions and tell that student to log on, that is your secure testing room. Any activity in and out has to be documented. If it's-
Just to be clear too, even between the two sessions of the day.
Anytime they leave.
Document.
Anytime they leave. Now, they finish the test and you've turned in your materials, you slid your sign under the door, the hall proctor's there monitoring, you turn in your materials, you come back, and Sally needs to go to the restroom, send them, because you have no more secure documents in your possession, okay? If a student leaves the room and does not return within 10 minutes, the TA will document on the Acap Summative timing form the name of the student and the time the student left. The TA will indicate on the Acap Summative timing form that the student did not return to the testing room. The TA will complete and submit an irregularity report. Both of those forms will be in your folder or your bag every day. Students who leave the room for any reason are to be accompanied by the hall proctor, hall monitor. There must be no interaction with other students. The students must not have access to any devices while they are out of the room. The hall proctors and monitors are encouraged to assist students in managing the time outside of the room so they are able to return within 10 minutes. And hall proctors got this training yesterday and they are aware of that. Unplanned or emergency breaks for students, resuming test sessions. Students who leave the room and are unable to return to the scheduled test time but are able to complete testing should be placed in a continuation session that must take place that day. Students who leave school grounds without completing the test session will need permission from the system test coordinator to complete the test in a makeup session when they return. And that is saying, Ms. Keith Traywick leaves out the room, he does not come back within 10 minutes. He cannot return to that room during that testing session. He has to be held with Ms. Tibbs. And then later on that day, he will have to complete that test once I've reached out and asked them to unlock it and everything. BTCs must submit a request to resume testing for Acap Summative to the system test coordinator and must follow the guidelines presented on the form with fidelity. Dismissing students in extended time sessions. Principals have the ultimate authority to determine procedures for dismissing students from test sessions. It is allowable for students in extended time sessions to be dismissed according to the following guidance. All students must remain in the testing room for the duration of the standard time session. At the end of the standard time, the TA may instruct the students to pause their test and allow students who have completed and submitted their test to be dismissed. I'm required to read it. We are not doing that. Those students will stay in the room with you the entire time. After the break at standard time, the TA may quickly dismiss or quietly dismiss individual students as they complete and submit their test, as long as there is a hall proctor available to escort the students to their next appropriate setting. Again, we are not doing this. Security of test materials in scratch paper. Test tickets and used scratch paper are considered secure test materials and should be stored or destroyed accordingly. Test tickets are printed one to a page and can be used as scratch paper. They are encouraging you to encourage the students to use their test ticket as scratch paper, but we have given you white paper in your bags also. And new this year, student usernames and passwords are different for each session of each content area test. So for ELA, they have 4 different passwords. Yes.
4 different pieces of paper. So you'll give session 1 paper, take it up, session 3 paper, take it out.
However, as long as it's the white paper that I've given you in your bag, it does not matter. You can give them whatever they need. Nope, because once you turn it into me, I fill out the certificate of shred form and I'm a shred it. Even if they draw on it, draw a flower or a rose, take all that scratch paper up, it's being shredded. Testing irregularities. A test and irregularity is any occurrence that may influence a student's performance. TA should report irregularities immediately after completing a session of the Acap Summative. Examples of irregularities include a student is observed in possession of a digital device during the testing session, a student is observed cheating during the testing session, a teacher or other adult provides improper assistance to a student, a teacher or other adult is observed using a cell phone or other digital device. And the more examples of irregularities include testing accommodations specified in the student's IEP, Section 504 plan, or IELP are not provided. A student is providing a test and accommodation that is not specified in an IEP, 504 plan, or ILP. An excessive disturbance or disruption occurs during the test session. Ineligible students are tested. Failure to strictly adhere to consistent and uniform test administration procedures may result in the invalidation of student scores. And a note, any irregularity that requires the invalidation of students' assessment is considered a major irregularity.
I do wanna make clear, like if the kid don't come back after 10 minutes, yes, that is an irregularity, but that's not a major irregularity.
It's a procedural.
That's a procedural. this is a big deal.
Major irregularities have to be reported to the state. Procedural irregularities are reported to the district. Accessibility supports and accommodations. Accommodations must only be made available to students with IEPs, Section 504 plans, or IELPs, and should only be available to those students if they have a need for the accommodation outlined in their plan. Most important, no accommodation should be provided to a student for the first time on test day. Students can practice with embedded accessibility supports and accommodations by going through the online tools training modules. TAs can verify students' accessibility supports and accommodations by reviewing the student's test ticket, which will show the codes for the accessibility supports and/or accommodations they were assigned in the portal. For those that are testing for our special populations, I have put the accommodations on the roster, so all you have to do when you're checking your tickets is look at those accommodations. It'll be easy for you to verify. It is important to note that some accessibility supports and accommodations have different timing assessments. Standard time, extended time, and untimed. We do not have any untimed assessments here. Students must be grouped into testing session with other students with the same timing assignment. Test time assignments for each of the allowable accessibility supports and accommodations are presented in a table within your TAM. See the Acap Summative Accessibility Supports and Accommodations Supplement for detailed guidance on the setup and administration of the Acap Summative for students with accessibility supports and/or accommodations. This is the training that I sent you all the other day that I got guidance on. I thought it only had to go to our teachers that were administering the test to our special population. It has to go to everybody in the building. Because it says, I must ensure that all of you all involved in testing in the building has been trained in both the ASOP manual, we did that in October, and the ACAP Summative supplement to the ASOP. TAs can verify students' accessibility supports and accommodations by reviewing the student's test ticket. The graphic below shows how accessibility supports and accommodations are abbreviated on the test ticket. Those that are testing our special populations, your accommodations are at the bottom. Majority of you all, it'll say accommodations, but it will have nothing there next to it. Before each test session, post a testing sign, page 9. Sorry. Everybody good? Post a testing sign on your testing location door. Obtain a roster and complete a seating chart before each test session. They will be in your box the day before. Obtain a test ticket for each student who will be testing. Test tickets are secure materials and should be securely stored until you are ready to pass them out. Check the test tickets to confirm the applicable accessibility supports and/or accommodations have been assigned. If they haven't been, testing for the affected student must be postponed until corrective action is taken. During testing, students may not access personal materials or belongings. The school's plan for collecting digital devices prior to testing must be followed. Allow students to bring one library book into the testing room for reading after submitting their test. These should be kept under the student's desk until they have successfully submitted their test. Yes,
Last year we had them put their book bags and stuff outside.
that's further down.
I'm so sorry.
You're good. This is the part where I have the state says the state created this, so I'm going by this one, but that's our extra. Alright, seat students according to the pre-planned seating chart. Mark any absent student on the seating chart and roster. Set any extra devices outside of the testing room. No extra Chromebooks. Your cart cannot be kept in your room this year. If you're testing 10 students, you take 10 Chromebooks off of that cart, you push your cart out in the hallway. Make sure that each student is sitting at a separate testing device or computer, that each device or computer is turned, and that the desktop or home screen is visible so you can see what's going on. Seating charts, they are needed for every testing session. So 6th grade, you should have 8, 7th grade, you should have 6, 8th grade, you should have 8. It must have the TA's name, proctor if applicable, the test name, the session number, your room number, start and stop times. You must identify the door, the teacher desk, demo station if you're in a science classroom, table and window if applicable. And each seating chart must be signed. But you can create your seating chart and make copies. So don't create one every day. Yes, ma'am.
Another quick question about Chromebooks, student gets sick, doesn't return, do I need to notify someone to remove that Chromebook from the classroom?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Alright, page 9. Ensure that the DRC Insight Test Engine has been launched, and click on the icon shown below to launch the test engine. When we've been practicing, it's just been our online tools. Once we go live, it is that red one that is circled, that is the student sign-in page, the student sign-in icon. Yes.
Start, or when we start reading them from the.
No.
What's the testing time, what's the time around?
Your start time of the test.
So when I say start the test.
When you say start the test, because that is the same time you should be putting on your board, it's the same time you should be putting on your signature. Your stop time, because just say like ELA 1 is 15 minutes. We start at 9 o'clock. But everybody in your testing session has finished at 9:12. You have verified everyone is finished. You've looked at everybody's Chromebook and know that they successfully submitted it. Your stop time is 9:12. Yes.
Will you have extra clock?
I do. I sent out a survey. The people that responded to the survey got their clocks. So if you need a clock, you gotta come get one. Okay. Follow the script in the, any more questions? Okay. Follow the script in the, test administration verbal instructions document verbatim. If administering one-on-one to a student with a human reader accommodation, you follow the script in the oral presentation human reader script verbatim. We do not have any of that here. If a student submits a test prematurely before completing the test, testing must be postponed until the next test session because it's been locked. If this happens, slide your need assistance sign under the door and Ms. Barron and I will have to come in. Collect the student's test materials and dismiss the student from the test session. At MMS, immediately notify your hall proctor and monitor, who will then in turn notify us. And you must complete an irregularity report and submit it to the BTC. Record times for any student who leaves the testing room for any reason using your Acap summative timing form. Monitor students to ensure that they are working independently and processing through the test items. Do not provide assistance to students beyond making certain they understand the test directions. Do not read, review, copy, reproduce, photograph, record facts, or take notes on the test or test items. Disclosure of test content is strictly prohibited and is a test security violation. Instruct students to exit the DRC Insight Test Engine, collect and recount test tickets, collect scratch paper if test tickets were not used as scratch paper, collect any paper copies of math reference sheets or periodic tables if applicable. Our special population will have hard copies of both of those. General ed, they have to use what's embedded in the computer or the program. Once all secure test materials have been accounted for, students can be dismissed. Again, this is from the state. MMS students will be dismissed from their testing location by administration or the testing staff. Return all testing materials to the BTC. Report any testing irregularities immediately to your BTC, principal or principal designee, or your STC. For us, you fill out the irregularity report immediately following the irregularity and slide it under your door. The hall proctor will come and get it. Note, after school when testing ended well before the end of the day is not immediately. After you have gathered statements, is not immediately. This would cause an additional irregularity. When it happens, slide it under your door. All test administrators should have Sarah McClendon's contact information in case an irregularity is caused by an administrator and or your BTC or BBTC. Investigations will be handled by the system test coordinator and Department of Ed. That is her information. Everybody good? Yes? Okay. The Acap summative is a time test. The test engine automatically exits the test session and submits the student's responses at the end of the allotted time. TAs do not need to monitor testing times unless administering a paper form of the assessment. When the allotted time reaches 4 minutes left, a countdown clock will appear on the student's screen, indicating the time remaining for the student.
That is 4 minutes, by the way. Don't let them know it's 4 minutes.
Did I say that?
Did it say that? Oh, 4 minutes left.
Okay.
I didn't, sorry.
Students who take a break in the testing session cannot make up the lost time. Chart showing the session, the number of items per session and the allotted times per session are in your TAM. Extended time is twice standard time. It is available as an accommodation for qualifying students, and some accommodations require untimed test sessions, which is like braille. You don't have any of those. TAs are responsible for ensuring all secure test materials are handled in accordance with the school's test security plan and the guidance presented in the Acap Summative Test Administration Manual. This includes the return of all materials to the BTC immediately following the administration of the test session. BTC should provide each TA with the following: your TAM, which you have, your test session roster. It says it can be your class roster with your SSID numbers, and you mark out the students not in the session. That's not what we're doing. I'm giving you a daily roster. Because I pull students out to go to other classes, or we combine classes. You will get your seating chart, which you already have, or the chart template, test tickets for each section being tested that day, and scratch papers. The ACAP summative timing form, and an irregularity report form. For us, you'll get paper copies of the reference sheet, you get paper copies of your periodic table. Everyone has their verbal instructions for the grade level and content sessions being tested. In headphones, if needed, so all ELA listening sessions, ELA 1, and your text-to-speech. So everyone will get headphones on day 1 of testing. We're switching.
So the next part is the second booklet, your verbal instructions booklet. It's gonna just show you some screenshots from the booklet, so if you wanna follow along, it'll be in there. You have a second book, so it is printed separately, it is not part of your TAM, and we highly encourage you to review and make notes before testing. We've made a few notes in there for you, and we'll go through that as we get to that part. So, you gotta start with the, before you begin, make sure that you have everything listed there. If you don't, contact one of us. It gives you instructions on how to read the script. So if you're unsure of how to read your manual, there's directions there. You must start with the welcome. It'll say the word say. So as long as you're reading what it says to say, you should be good. Okay? It says say cross out the option that doesn't apply to you. We have tried to do that for like your extended time versus your standard time. I don't know if it is for the scratch paper part, but we're going to use our test tickets as scratch paper, but we're providing you with extra scratch paper if needed. So, and it'll tell you, say, look at the screen and click. Say, look at your test ticket. So just make sure everything that it says where it says say, that you are saying what it says to say. Starting the test, again, say what it says to say. It should show you general, we're using ELA because all of the times and things for ELA for all grade levels are the same. It looks just like the online tools training. Like that is a screenshot of the online tools training. So we should be have been doing this with our students for a long time now, right? We started back in like February, one of our meetings, we said we're gonna start doing this, right? So as long as we've been doing that in our rooms, our students should be very familiar with the way this looks. It looks identical to what they're gonna see next week. Even the 3 gray dots that they see when they start the test. So it'll say, select the link that says, whatever session it is, you can see a screen with 3 circles, and select the next arrow. So as long as you're saying what it says to say, right? Again, we should be good. If they click on exit, they can't exit a test by accident unless they click on 3 separate buttons that say they want to exit the test. So it'll be very hard for them to exit on accident. And then that's what the on-screen directions will look like for the test. Again, I believe that it says online tools training. So the directions should look identical to what they've been seeing for a long time now. So you must, again, it says, note, you must begin with the welcome and starting the test directions on pages 1 through 3 for every session. If you're administering your first session, you just continue what you've read. If you're administering another session, you go back to pages 1 through 3 and read that part again. So it's not gonna say that for every session, you just have to go back to those pages. Students will see these directions on their computer screen. So it says when students are ready, say, follow along as I read the directions, and they will see that on their screen so that they can follow along as you're reading the directions to them. We have done this for you, so it says, review the verbal instructions before test day so you know which ones to say. There's for standard time and for extended time, so if you're a special population, you should have the for standard time administration crossed out and the for unlimited time administration crossed out, and if you're giving standard time, you should have the other two crossed out for you. We have already done that. There's an example of what we do. Monitoring and ending the test, the tests are the only sections left for the session. So it just says, here's, monitor the students' work as they work and how to end the test. It says, no, read the test administration manual and know how to handle pausing the test. All of that is exactly what it looks like in the online tools training. So if the kid has paused the test in the online tools training, the 10-minute timer comes up, that's exactly what it's gonna look like next week when they do the road test. So that's why we've been kind of harping on making sure that they've been getting it and having that practice. So here's some helpful testing tips. Now, Dr. Ledbetter is gonna send out basically these exact slides, and we want you to share them with your students, okay? As long as they've been doing the online tools training, they've seen it, but sometimes it helps, like, at this point, they're probably just clicking buttons because they've done it so many times. Just as a reminder, hey, the review and end test button is on the bottom and it's green, right? So just kind of reminding them of these things. So accidentally ending the test, if they hit that green button, it's gonna send them to another screen that says, are you sure you want to end the test, right? It'll go to this screen. It'll check the boxes if they've completed the questions, or it'll be unchecked if they haven't. And then they have to,
I'm sorry.
and then it'll say, once you have finished, would you like to return to the questions or would you like to end the test? So, like you said, it'll be very hard for them to accidentally go through and end the test. And then one more time. Are you done with your test? If you're not, click return to review, or if you are, click submit. So they have to go through 3 different screens before they can end the test. So no student should say, accidentally ended my test. But the online tools training does exactly that. That's what they should see if they play with it enough. Because I'm sure by now some of them don't even go through the questions, they just click the other, the options button where you can change the colors and all that stuff.
Hey, Lynn, will you go back to the other, the last screen, because there's one part, the second, third bullet.
So if the student clicks on the submit button, the test is submitted and cannot be returned to. So when they click submit there, that's it. That's their last chance. And the test will have to be unlocked by the system test coordinator, and that student must be dismissed from the test session.
But I'm gonna share with you, we have something in place and hopefully this will not happen.
Pausing the test. So if a student must take a break, they just hit that pause button. This is, like if you look on the screenshot, it is the OTT, the online tools training. So this is exactly what they see. If they hit that pause button, it will pop up with that 10-minute timer. Just like this. Your test is paused. So when the student clicks on the pause button, that countdown appears, and when they return, they just click resume to get back to wherever they left off.
Does the proctor and the home monitor, do they have the idea that, okay, you gotta get this child back within 10 minutes?
Yes.
Are they gonna have a timer or something?
They can, make that, they'll have their device to make note of the time when the student comes out. And they were encouraged, yesterday when we had their training, they were encouraged to make sure that they're trying to get that child back in the room.
They also gotta unpause this thing.
Right, they have to unpause the test before it gets submitted.
I'll reiterate that, Mr. Fox, with all of them. Thank you, I definitely will.
Okay, this might, I'm gonna just see if this is okay, because normally like when they get to that last screen where everything is checked, I tell them to raise their hand, so I can come look at it.
I'm going to address that.
Oh, yep, okay.
We're trying to knock out all of them.
Yeah.
They don't need to use the restroom.
They just click resume.
You don't need to write anything.
Nope, only if they leave the room.
If they accidentally click it, that's an accident.
Yeah, they just click resume. Yeah. If they click pause and that timer comes up, and they didn't mean to, they just click resume and they can move on. If the student doesn't return within 10 minutes, the countdown clock goes to 0, and that's the screen that appears. Session inactive, message to TA, your session has been ended due to inactivity. And guys, if they do that on the online tools training, that really comes up because I did it. have this tested out. And so that exactly is popped up. So TA will go click OK, and you'll have to notify myself or Ms. Long.
The previous screen, if it shows right there, if they come back and they say, instead of resume, they can exit.
You still have those other measures.
You still have the other thing, it's not like you see.
Right, that's not,
But
if you
people
click
that
exit, it's not done.
they gotta keep clicking to get out.
Right.
Alright. Now, our specific daily procedures, guidelines, and information. Our hall proctors are Ashley, she's our new PA, Ms. Donnelly, Ms. Miller, Ms. Kay Tibbs is coming back to us on loan from Monrovia Elementary. Ms. Tibbs, she is also our holding room. Coach Landon, Coach Cheatham, Coach Hector, and Coach Martin. Materials that will be in your box daily that you must bring to the office to get your secure testing material is your checkout procedures or your daily testing instructions guide, your pre-test checklist. It must be initialed on every line and it must be signed. We cannot do any checks. It has to be initialed that you've done everything. Your roster and your seating charts for each session that will be administered that day. TAs must check out secure testing materials. Proctors cannot. Proctors, you will need to still come and bring your pre-test checklist. On your checkout procedures and daily testing guide, make sure you read it daily. It's gonna have your testing schedule. It has what you're required to do from 8 to 8:35, the list of items that should be in your Ziploc bag, or what you're signing for. Instructions on how to check out materials, your testing guide, reminders and details. If additional testing sessions are scheduled, adding an absent student to your next testing session, if testing is concluded for the day, helpful tips, and then just for our extended time people breaking for lunch. Materials that you're gonna sign for every day, what's in red goes on your door. Your test tickets for each session, your timing form, your irregularity report, you're gonna have a yellow testing sign. Oh, Ms. Barron's holding them up. Oh. Or quiet please students testing sign, your red assistance needed sign, no electronic devices sign. This is not overkill, you all. This was part of our 2.5-hour training that they changed for this year based on all the uh-ohs from the state last year. Acap test security trained to enter sign. You will have your testing complete sign and your DRC confirmation directions. And then we're gonna give you a little gentle reminder, your MMS and ACAP digital device policy, our communication plan, our school safety plan, guidelines for emergency situations. And then just to make sure you know, because we don't want anybody to lose their certification, your roles and responsibilities as a test administrator. For our small group, you will also, on the days you have math, you will get, math or science, you'll get your paper reference sheets. You will also get refusal to utilize accessibility supports and or accommodations on state assessment, and you will get a description of the student's accommodations. So this is your receipt and return of testing materials, your sign, your 2 signs she just showed, your assistance needed sign. The adding late students to your testing sign, I will get that. I will slide that under your door. So Gene Cox missed ELA session 1, but he's here for ELA session 2. He's holding in Ms. Tibbs' room. I will slide that under your door. When you are finished with the ELA session 1, you will slide your assistance needed sign out, and I know that's when I need to add that student. I will bring all of your secure material to you. We will sign, and I will give you your secure material and your student. We're trying to eliminate our makeup sessions. We have 3 weeks to test. Our communication plan, our school safety plan, Your testing is complete. When you have completed your testing for the day, slap that out. I remember last year we were having to stick our head out the door and all that to let the hall proctor know, slide that out. The hall proctor will know that's coming from you, so they can relieve you. Hall proctors cannot come into your classrooms. They will monitor your students while you return your secure material, but it will be done from the door, okay?
The testing complete, is that after each test?
No, for the day, when you come to when you need to turn in your material.
Okay.
And then your DRC, directions for student access.
So that's that configuration that we've been running around having to do, like chickens with our heads cut off the last couple of weeks. That's not if the DRC won't load, right? If DRC won't come up, like the issue we've been having, we'll get you a new computer. If it's just that they have to put in that org number, that's the directions for that, cause that's easy.
And because of our issues with our computers, we had to revamp our schedule, and I wanna thank sixth grade for being guinea pigs. Thank you. This is a timing sheet, this is the form that you will sign anytime a student leaves your room, and then your irregularity report. We wanna start on time so we can end our sessions on time. So students must report to their testing room immediately after breakfast. If they are not eating or if not eating breakfast when they arrive at school. So if they're eating breakfast, they go to the cafeteria. If they're just coming in not eating breakfast, they report directly to their testing room. Please do not allow students to hang out in your room. In order to begin the testing on schedule, attendance needs to be taken and materials need to be picked up prior to morning announcements. Students' backpacks, sports bags, purses, and any other type of bag must be placed in the hallway. Cannot be placed in the hallway with their devices in there. You have to collect their devices, and the bags are placed in the hallway. Yes.
I have students who are not in my homeroom.
So you're gonna hold signs, at the buses, like little ticket signs?
So
This
what
is
I-
report directly to your testing location.
That's fine, and then there'll be a paper copy for attendance.
Yep. You have a roster.
Your roster is gonna be attendance.
That works.
Okay. This is important. After announcements, just like last year, you have instructions in this is your daily guide.
Like Dr. Laverne said, it's not a one page.
Yes. You will have that stop sign, so you will do everything prior to that stop sign. When you hit that stop sign, you will wait for Mr. Trawick to come on, do his morning announcements, and put the building in testing mode. Before you open your verbal instructions to start reading instructions to the kids, you must say this. So after announcements, but before you begin reading the directions in your test administration verbal instructions for online testing, please instruct students when they have completed their test and are ready to submit it to raise their hand to notify you. The TA must verify the student's test is fully submitted. Students should not submit their test without the TA verifying the test was fully submitted.
I wanna add to this, I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to say this to them before you open that instructional manual. You cannot say this after, if you don't say this before you open that manual and start those instructions, you can't say it at all,
Hey, was it
okay?
acceptable if, like you have a proctor, like it's me and Ms. Thompson, can she check too, or does it have to be the TA?
It has to be the TA. It has to be the TA. Ms. Thompson, can I use you as an example? I did not put any of our brand new teachers as a TA, although they're TA trained. I put them as a proctor so they could be with a veteran teacher to see how it's ran. So your role in the room is a proctor. Although you're TA trained, your role is a proctor. You have to do everything as a TA, okay? Once you begin reading what Dr. Levitt said, out of your test administration verbal instructions for online testing, we are in testing mode. You have to do everything that manual tells you to do. You cannot add or take away anything. That's why this is, what's in yellow has to be read before you start reading those directions. This is literally in your daily guide. I copied it from your daily guide.
Is it that, just that?
Just that instruction, yes.
As a reinforcement for those who.
No. No. Only thing that should be on your board is your start, your end time, and the test session. ELA 1, the math 1, your start and end time. No extra. You have to tell this to the students because your board, once you start reading, that board is now in testing mode.
We could explain this though before, like tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's just when you start reading out of that manual, you have to follow that manual verbatim. No extra, no subtraction. And reminders, as test administrators, you should know all the local school site procedures for reporting irregularities. what to do in the event of an emergency, and how to maintain test security. Test security must be maintained at all times in all digital devices capable of recording, capturing images, and/or accessing the internet should not be accessible to any test administrator or student during test administration.
I don't know if this has been said or not, but those of you that have your Chromebooks, your school Chromebooks, have to be set outside the room as well with the Chrome card. I don't know if that was stated anywhere.
No additional devices in the room this year. Lindsay, Dr. Adams, you have to power any unused, Mr. Bird too, any unused desktops. Just turn them off. You don't have to unplug them, but they have to be powered off. Remember, you must follow the Acap digital device policy, MMS digital device, MMS communication plan, MMS school safety plan guidelines for emergency situations, test security policy, Alabama Educator Code of Conduct, and all of the guidelines provided for you in this PowerPoint. Any questions?
I have one more statement.
Wait, I got a question.
Okay, go ahead, question.
Question?
School phone should be unplugged, right? Did you say that or no?
It is in your daily procedure. School phones should be unplugged, just like last year. The hall proctors in their training yesterday, they were informed of that. They were informed that they are your eyes and ears in the hallway. So if there's an emergency, every hallway will have an adult outside. So it's not like somebody trying to go back and forth. Every hallway will have an assigned adult.
You don't want those after the announcement.
You can Yes.
So as soon as announcements
As
are
soon as
over.
announcements are over.
Well, to start the test, Travis should come on.
Travis is gonna come on and tell you you're in testing mode, and then you unplug your phones.
If this is in your daily guide, but, going back to irregularity reports, you have to tell us immediately what happened. You can't, push that to the end of the day. So when you turn your secure testing materials in and you have an irregularity, you have that form in your packet. You need to have that filled out for whatever has happened and be prepared to disclose to her what's happened right then.
If you did not slide it under your door immediately after it happened. Cause that's something that we stated in the, cause if you had an irregularity, just fill that out right then and slide it under your door. And then we can ask you about it.
Yeah, but immediately, we can't hold them, cause I know, that's been an issue in the state before, where people have held them literally like to the end of the day.
We had Ms. Swearingen, Ms. Williams, and Mr. Cox look these over to make sure it was understandable, to check us for correctness. So we tried to cover everything we thought was possible in this. Yes, ma'am.
Are we allowed, while the sixth grade is doing their testing, are seventh grade students allowed to do a quiz or assessments in our classes? While the sixth grade is doing their test, their Acap testing, is seventh grade allowed to do a math test, a regular math quiz or something like that?
You're not in a secure testing environment.
Right.
They're
So
hoping.
there's no reason why you can't continue on with your normal activities inside that classroom.
You will not have any Chromebooks.
Right, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have a specific holding schedule, while we are testing, and we are gonna.
Agree with that?
I do wanna address homework, Mr. Traywick.
Yes.
If it's not
Okay.
your testing week, can they still give homework?
That's what all of that.
Or is no homework during our whole testing window?
I mean,
I'm sorry.
yes, you can give homework,
Yeah.
yes. I don't like homework, personally. So, yes, you can give homework when it's not your testing week.
Well, so let's ask this, so let's say that it's a
But from a
sixth grade-
testing standpoint though, you really wouldn't want to give a test if you're not giving some kind of practice, right?
Right.
And so, how would you give a test?
In the past, for the testing window, there was a blanket statement, no homework, no test.
For those 10 days?
Yes, yes, and that makes it simple.
So Ms. Conway, are you asking though, Ms. Conway, you're asking about tests specifically during that time?
Whatever,
Just
anyway.
assignments, I mean, you can carry on with assignments and lessons.
Daily work.
Daily work, yes, but I would probably not give any type of additional assessment, any type of test during that testing window. And so just, yeah. Yeah.
We passed around the record of training, your responsibility, what does it say, Ms. Thompson, responsibility in testing or administration? It is all of you all are TAs. Okay. So put TAs. Yes. Yes. Sign that form, Ms. Okay, you're good, Ms. Lambert.
You will get a holding schedule that tells you, what's gonna happen that day. I want to make it publicly aware that we're not holding a tea during 5th or 6th period. Or 1st or 3rd.
We tried to make it as fair as possible, because I was on the receiving end of missing planning periods last year. So we tried to make it where it's fair to everyone, and we literally have gone back and forth. We went to Dr. Ledbetter's house the other day to do testing stuff.
And I do wanna say this, what's gonna be a little different for Monrovia Middle for us. We may send 6th grade to 2nd, and 7th and 8th grade to 4th. Not really, no, we won't go to 4th. Well, we might, I don't know. So they may be in 2 different areas for that day.
And we've never done that before.
We've never done that before.
But we're trying to be fair so everyone gets planted, gets a breather, because we know this is a stressful time.
And we plan to give you your daily guide.
Sign the sheets, guys.
The daily guide and the holding schedule the day prior. So tomorrow in your boxes, you should have 6th grade, Monday's daily guide and holding schedule, so that y'all can go ahead and plan accordingly for that. And the 7th and 8th graders will have the holding schedule, so you'll know where your classes will be and when you'll be.
The only other thing I asked too, if you see a mistake, I mean, you guys are way seasoned with this as well, especially with scheduling. If you see something that you think's gonna blow up, won't work, please say, this is not gonna work, okay? We depend on you for that as well. We have tried to consider everything, but y'all are in the trenches. We gotta know.
Our 6th grade, you will get your blue folder tomorrow morning, so please look over it. If you have any questions, please get with us tomorrow, because of how the week is. When we come in the building Monday, we're rocking and rolling. Yeah.
Are we holding 7th and 8th grade? Are we holding while 6th grade are?
Hey, Ms. Lunsford, before we take any more final questions, I just wanna say this, we can't thank you guys enough for your time today. We know that we got a lot going on, folks, just our staff in general. There's a lot going on with all of us, and so, thank you guys for your time today, thank you for, encouraging each other, trying to lift each other up. Just, being a team player and picking up slack whenever we need you guys to do whatever is needed. Thank you all for that. I know that we don't say that enough. We certainly can't show it, enough by any means, for the work that you guys do, but, there's a lot of needs going on right now, so, thank you all. And Ms. Lunsford, Ms. Barron.
Well, I appreciate you all too, because it's been a lot of emails, it's been a lot of this question. I appreciate you all too. There's been a lot of late nights. I'm surprised I still have hair.
Or married.
Yeah, or married. I'm surprised.
All right, anything else, guys?
She wanted to remind you too that you can wear jeans all.
Oh, yes. So
You
2 weeks of
know
jeans.
how else you can get a jeans pass?
Sign up for the dance.
I have to work the dance, the whole month of May.
I'm
Raise your
signed
hand,
up.
raise your hand.
Signed up.
Raise your hand, you're wearing
I
jeans
want
the
my
month of May.
jeans.
All right, if you're not wearing jeans the month of May, it's not on.
Guys, thank you. I tried to get y'all out of here by 5. Thank you. You can take care of my